to another episode of Matt Goes to the Movies, here to talk about the newest episode of Halo streaming on Paramount Plus. We have reached episode 4, and with episode 4, we have officially crossed into the territory of we have seen more naked ass than Halo in this show. So it, exactly what I wanted. Just unbelievable what this show gives us. And if you can't tell by that introduction, this is not what I was looking forward to from the new episode. So, Rob, I'm going to be really interested to see what you have to say, because I know I have a lot. I just have a lot to say.
I have a lot to say as well. And it's funny that you kind of started with that, because one of the things that really jumps out to me, we've kind of talked about how this show really feels heavily influenced by somebody who was very into Game of Thrones and wanted to make their own version of it. And it kind of feels like they realized that one of the things that people supposedly really liked about Game of Thrones, one of the things it's known for, is gratuitous amounts of TNA. And they decided with this show they weren't going to give us any of the T, so they doubled down on the A, and that's just nonstop what we're getting, and it's distracting and it's kind of pointless, and it's like, why is this happening? Like, it's distractingly bad.
Yeah, they're again, like I don't care. Like, I don't care. It's not like I have something against. It's not like I have anything against it, and I'm like, okay, oh my god, like there's nudity in a program,
Right?
But
Yeah.
it serves no purpose. And again, like, all joking aside, we've literally seen more human ass than we have anything that I was looking for in this Halo show. It's another, to me, slow, boring, dialogue driven episode where you focus on characters that are not interesting, and it bogs down this episode so bad for me. Like, I put off watching this episode until today.
Yeah, I think you just finished it right before we went on air, didn't you?
Yeah, about 20 minutes before.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where if we had a conversation about what we wanted to have in a Halo show months ago, weeks ago, years ago, when we first found out this thing was going to happen, and I could kind of Morpheus, red pill, blue pill, make you an offer. In this hand, I have a pill that will give you a show with the Master Chief running around, shooting a Covenant, blowing things up, driving warthogs over grunts, making things explode, a kind of building a relationship between Master Chief and Cortana. I could give you that in one hand. The other hand is barely seen any Covenant at all whatsoever. We've only had one Spartan versus Covenant fight. It's a bunch of people talking in space, and you see their butts. Which one of those two options would you have taken, Matt?
Yeah, I definitely would have thrown the second option out the window.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you would light that option on fire, and then you would send it down the river.
Yeah, it's just, boy, I think just getting into the episode's the best thing, because I don't know how we talk about this episode without just pinpointing specific aspects of what happened as to why I'm not really a fan of it. So I'm going to go first, Rob, with my watch rating of this episode, where we talk whether the episode is low, medium, or high. Would you rewatch this episode? Does it offer anything of value to bring you back? And for me, the answer is low. I can't see a reason to rewatch this episode. I don't think it adds anything to the lore. I don't think you miss anything. There's no real emotional moments for me that give me any kind of connection to these characters. Kwan is an absolute, she's a brat, and is like, she's a brat, and she is responsible for multiple people getting hurt in this episode because she needs to throw a fit that's like reminiscent of a kid. And it it doesn't work. It's low. There's no for me. There's no reason to rewatch this episode. I barely got through the episode as it is the first time watching it. Not that I was super busy. I had a couple things going on this week, and I was like, you know what? Okay, normally we do this. We're talking about this episode on a Sunday. Normally we do this on Saturday. Between you and I, we couldn't get Saturday to work. And as soon as you reached out to me and said like, "Hey, would Sunday work for you?" I literally was like, yeah, Sunday works. That's absolutely not a problem. It kind of works better for me as well." But I said to myself right then and there, I'm not going to watch this episode until Sunday. Like I had it like and we talked, I believe the day that the episode comes out, did we not?
Yeah, and neither one of us had seen it. I had a bunch of stuff going on Thursday night. I didn't end up watching this till Friday. And coming off of last week, I think you and I both liked last week's a little bit more. It gave us a little bit of hope.
Right.
So I'm just going to go right into my watch rating at this point and say this is low. I rewatched this earlier. So I watched it with my family Friday night, and then I just rewatched this by myself earlier. I found myself skipping through quite a bit and sort of fast forwarding through things. Because I was just like, I can't bear to watch like what's going on here. I'm very bored by what's happening. There's a lot in this that feels like filler. It feels like they're
Mm-hmm.
padding the episode count, and there's almost nothing in here that feels like it's going to carry forward in ways that mean anything. There's so many storylines that they're adding that just mean nothing to me. I really struggle to care about anything to do with Kwan's story. Like all of a sudden she's rich now. Like it just kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know. There's so many things that just they keep trying to add to make it more interesting, and yet
Mm-hmm.
it's a show based on a first person shooter, and we get no shooting. There's a little bit here, but I'll tell you what's been very interesting to me is kind of paying attention to the people that are talking about this show. And there's not really a lot of people out there talking about this show, but there's a big disconnect I've noticed, and I'll be curious to see if you've noticed this as well, or have a different take on it. There's a disconnect between people who consider themselves Halo fans, people who've played the games, people who are really into it, spend a lot of time with it, and people who maybe are only casually familiar with it. Maybe they've played one or two of them, didn't really get that into it, or maybe they're only familiar with it because they're watching it with somebody who is a Halo fan. It seems
Mm-hmm.
like the people who are enjoying this show, and there's people out there who are, don't get me wrong, are the ones that are more in that second group. They're not the people who played the game. They're not the people that like this is really important to them. And that seems very strange to me. Like we've talked about that this show is not appealing at all to the fans that were the ones that would have wanted to get this thing made in the first place. But yeah, for me, it's a low watch rating. I'm still looking. I got to be honest, and we're going to dump on this episode a lot. I just know, like you and I have not talked at all about
Nope.
prior to going on air what our thoughts are, but I already know we're both going to dump on this thing a lot, and yet I still say that I'm interested to see what happens Thursday. I do think there's enough things that keep me intrigued to see how they play out. And maybe it's just because of the license itself. Maybe it's just because I want to see when they really do start having, the battles with the Covenant and things like that. When we get to that point, when we get to those action set pieces, I still kind of want to see it. But I got to be honest. So Friday night, I turned this off, and my family wanted to watch something different, so I fired up Xbox Game Pass and jumped back into Halo Infinite. Not necessarily on purpose, but that just happens to be what I'm playing right now. And I was at, and I'm not going to spoil anything here, but I was at kind of a boss battle that's kind of cheap in how this boss attacks you. And was kind of frustrating at points, and I kept dying, and I kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And there's some weird checkpoints in there that don't really log, so you have to backtrack a lot, and it's kind of frustrating. And yet I still had more entertainment, more fun, and had a better Halo experience with that than I did watching the show that preceded that activity.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm like crazy interested in, and sometimes I don't put a lot of faith into them. But one site that I frequent quite often is IGN. Rob, have you looked at their reviews for the Halo show from since episode one?
I haven't seen theirs, but the digging around that I've done, because I was very curious about the overall perception of this. If you look at the places you can commonly find reviews, it's generally pretty meh. You know, it's like I would say
Mm-hmm.
an average of 7 out of 10 is what you're finding in most places between critical reviews and audience reviews. Generally, kind of meh.
Yeah, like so here's in order. Episode 1, 7. Episode 2, 7. Episode 3, 8. Episode 7 or episode 4, a 7. And it said for this one, and this is like again, this is where I'm curious because I just don't see it. While Halo is still bogged down by one clunky subplot, Episode 4 gives Master Chief and his fellow Spartans plenty of fascinating character development and emotional moments. I guess dyeing your hair is considered emotional. I don't know. Um, like I don't get that review. Like I don't get that at all. And I don't even agree. Like again, this is just my opinion. I don't even agree with it being a 7 for the first two episodes. I wouldn't agree with episode 3 getting an 8. I just don't see it. Again, this guy that plays Master Chief, he brings nothing to the table for me. I don't think he's a good actor. And I when we were talking last week, Rob, somebody pointed out like, oh, well, he had a neuralizer chip in him and he's taking it out. Well, he's still the same, like he's still the same actor. So he looks
Yeah,
exactly the same, even though he's supposed to now be able to have emotion.
he
And
just chooses not to.
right, yeah,
Apparently,
he looks and acts the same. And it's just I don't care, because all we do is get another dump um, about Hazley, and okay, now it's more evident now that the Spartan program is even a little bit more sadistic and wrong than we thought, and how she's so cold and calculated. Like yes, so what? I understand that. I get that. But she's not interesting. I thought maybe this episode would be fun because okay, look, we're getting Cortana. Great. What's her purpose in this episode? To help John with his virtual reality game? I
yeah, she's basically augmented reality at this point.
right. She has very little screen time in this episode. It brings really nothing. And yeah, it's doubling down on the things that I knew and the things that I don't care about.
It's overall like, and we were talking about the difference between the Halo super fans and just kind of your general sci-fi fan that might be checking this out, just because they know it's a licensed property and might have something to work with, and does have its own deep lore. I mean, there is, if you want to go deep
Right.
in Halo, you can find some good stuff out there. But there's so many moments that are just so dumb and make no sense that it's not that this is just a bad Halo show. This is actually bad sci-fi. And
Right.
and
Exactly.
I've seen the gap in opinion, but I gotta think some of the things we're going to talk about that are misses have to feel like a miss to your general sci-fi fan. Like I don't see how other people are going to look at certain things and be like, yeah, that's good. I like that. Like that was
Mhm.
well executed there.
Yeah, I mean, so let's get into that because we kind of started talking and we're getting dangerously close into spoiler territory. So let's move into popcorn time and start talking about what this episode really is, how it breaks down, and what's going on. And the main crux of this episode is John going back home. He is going to try and unlock his memories, and again, that's where the show just it falls apart for me very early on because this guy doesn't emit any emotions. I don't particularly find his story interesting. I don't particularly feel bad for him because this this guy, I hate to rag on him, doesn't make me care. I don't care about him. I don't care what happened to Master Chief because his acting doesn't make me. I don't think it's interesting at all.
And even the flashbacks we get of him as a kid really fall flat on their face because all you really see is him predicting, heads or tails basically. And we see a few other things here or there. We see him
Right.
kind of in detention, and Halsey comes in, a younger version of her, a younger version of him. And yet we still, like, we're not really shown anything of John as a child that would really lead us to believe like he's kind of like, again, the show is borrowing so much from other sci-fi. Like he's almost being set up to be a Neo kind of figure, that he's this savior that's been picked out from a distance,
Mm-hmm.
and if, again, going back to the Fall of Reach, if you get a chance to read that book, when they actually create the Spartan program, they selected these kids very specifically, but there's almost something in this show where they almost have like a mystical, like, kind of a, I don't know, almost like magic that they're using.
Right.
And I don't really care for it. Like, kind of, if you're gonna do high fantasy, do high fantasy. If you want to do sci-fi, do sci-fi. Like, I'm not saying you can't mix those things, and certainly it's been done, but I don't know. I don't think that's really what I wanted here. But the whole flashback is just, it's boring as hell when they're sitting around in the forest just digging, and they have these flashbacks that I fast forwarded through almost all of it on my second watch through, because it did nothing for me. It was super boring. I didn't care about any of it. It didn't add anything. It didn't make me like John as a child more, John as an adult more. It did nothing.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, is these scenes don't make anything, and like they don't provide any content for you to care more about John, to care more about his struggle to be taken away and his parents' disappearance. Like, okay, we're going to be at episode 5, and we get John has, touched the artifact before. Great. Now all of a sudden, now we actually get the Halo ring mentioned. Great. But you've had 4 episodes to capture attention, and for me you haven't, and it doesn't help that the other part of this episode, and I mentioned it earlier, is the subplot with Kwan going back to try and finish what her father started, and she's a brat. She has absolutely no composure whatsoever, and for somebody that wants to do good, boy, she gets a lot of people hurt in this episode because, quite frankly, I I hate this. She can't keep her mouth shut.
There's
Like,
so much about that plot that, and I guess I'll just kind of talk about all of those scenes, and all of the Kwan subplots. It was Soren together, just kind of as a whole. I know they kind of bounce in and out. So they're walking right back into the city where she's definitely a fugitive, and she's just kind of got her hood up, like nobody's going to notice her, nobody's looking for her.
right,
Like,
but
that's dumb. And then she takes her hood off in public and starts yelling. Yes,
repeatedly takes her
repeated,
hood off.
and starts yelling. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then she shows up at the memorial for her dead father, as though nobody's going to be staking that out, thinking she's going to show up. And then she starts yelling again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, it makes absolutely no sense at all. It's so just dumb. It's hard to think of it as anything other than that. And then when you really get right down to it, what is it she's trying to do? I mean, think about it. What is it that she's trying to do? She's trying to restart the rebellion her father
Right.
had against the UNSC. And the UNSC is trying to say that this Covenant threat is real and we should be paying attention to it, you guys. And she's already seen a bunch of her stoner friends get turned into pink mist by the Covenant. She's already seen that the UNSC isn't all bad.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is she doing and why? Like, it just seems like there's conflict there for conflict's sake. And it's, once again, one of my most hated things of all: lazy screenwriting.
Yep.
It's trying to set up conflict for the sake of having a subplot where she's doing something. and it doesn't work. It's stupid. When you actually boil it down, it actually is counterintuitive. Like, she's seen the Covenant. She's seen
She's
them dust
yeah,
people.
she's doing more harm than good with her actions.
Yeah. Does it not seem obvious that the actual Covenant is a bigger threat than any of this rebellion or insurrection that her father was kind of stupidly trying to pull off? Like, they were clearly never going to win that. Like, they didn't have the resources against the UNSC. Like,
Right.
it holds up to zero scrutiny.
I'll tell you what, the only thing that I'll give any of those scenes with her credit for is when they first walk in, there's two of those people getting like kicked on the ground um by the UNSC. I was like, here we go. She's going to like run up and like push them and she's going to blow their cover. I was shocked that she walked by and didn't do anything. And I was like, "Oh, okay, like maybe I can give this episode some credit. Like that's something that's, the typical, oh, I'm supposed to be hiding out, but I see somebody in trouble and I run out and expose myself." And I was like, "Oh, all right." They avoided that. Yeah. 2 minutes later, there she is screaming at the top of her lungs, calling everybody a traitor.
Yeah, and let's jump forward just a little bit if we can. First of all, why in the year like 2545 or whatever year it is Soren still basically rocking a gold-plated Colt Python? Like, he doesn't have like better weapons than something taken literally out of the late 90s. Like, I don't know. Like, that to me
Yeah.
was somewhat distracting. I'm not quite sure what they were going for there, but
Well, he's still got
so
he's got his Muppet arm too. So,
oh
you know,
god, that it's terrible. So we kind of, still kind of revolving around the plot with Kwan. We get Venture in the pool, which again, this is a scene ripped right out of some Game of Thrones fanfic, because it's stupid. So this is what I didn't catch this the first time around, but the second time around it was pretty obvious.
mm-hmm.
He's bringing in a bounty hunter. He's bringing in an assassin, somebody to do a little bit of wet work for him, and he just kind of stands up naked in front of her and expects her to put the robe on him, which is just, I don't know, it's beyond creepy. It feels out of place. I don't know, but he talks about Kwan as though she's this big threat to him. So what am I missing something, Matt? What exact threat does she possess to him right now? Does
I
she have any money? No.
no,
Does she have any allies?
no,
How about weapons? She got any of those?
no.
Yeah. So other than plot and lazy screenwriting, why does Venture need her taken out? What threat does she pose to him? Because
Because
he's
he,
definitely somebody who is very egotistical. Like, he's very arrogant. Why does he think she's a threat?
I don't. He goes to the same school as Black Widow. He's got to clean his ledger. I know that.
That was such a dumb line.
Like,
Oh my god.
do you know what made me laugh about that entire scene though? I
More butts we didn't ask for?
Well, no, like that. I was just like, all right. Like, I knew it was coming too. I was like, here comes
Oh
another
yeah.
ass shot. Here we go. I laughed so hard. Like, I actually paused it for a second because I sat there and was like saying to myself, again, when you film something, watch it, you yell cut, you go back and you go, okay, yeah, we're gonna keep that. He puts his cigar out in the frickin' pool. Like, I don't know why, but that just like that scene cracked me up that he put the cigar out in the water. I laughed so hard, and I was like, so they filmed that, looked at it, and said, yes, like that's part of this episode. Great job. Like, I would have been like, who wrote this? And see you later. Like, good luck on your next project.
It's kind of trying to, like, it's like fake tough guyness. It's trying to make him seem like a badass that he's not yet. It's trying to just, I don't know. It's adding in something that doesn't work. Like, it seems foolish because nobody would do that. Like, it makes no sense at all whatsoever. It's just supposed to make him seem like he's a tough guy. I don't know. I caught that as well, and it's laughably stupid.
Yeah, Oh God, man. That is just the whole episode to me. The whole episode is stupid. Again, the one Spartan dyes her hair red, and oh my God, the crappy dialogue it
Oh, it's
with the
bad.
with the other doctor. What is her name again? Like, that's how bad
Miranda
it is.
Keys.
Okay, yeah, I can't even remember because she's so uninteresting and just what? No, like it looks fine. Oh my God, don't touch. Like, oh,
That's
I
actually that's a pretty good impression.
yeah, like I'll tell you what, when you're listening to this, like I'm sorry, like I don't care anymore because this show doesn't care. Like this show could care less about making anything interesting. It just we each had a dog. You had a pig. You had like shut up. I don't care. Like
So
uh
I'm gonna make the reference to Game of Thrones again. It feels like somebody paid attention to all of the unspeakable cruelty that happened on that series that like
right.
got a visceral reaction, and they said, "How can we do that? Okay, let's give all the Spartans pets, and then let's have to make them kill them all." And
Yeah.
that was supposed to elicit a reaction out of the audience, for those of you who have seen the first season of Game of Thrones, like when the dire wolf has to be killed, very early on, it attacks Joffrey and Joffrey orders it to be killed or whatever. I don't remember the exact events, but like when the wolf died, like you felt something about that. You're like, oh my God.
Hmm.
But them telling this story, I was just like, you can't see me, but right now I'm just shrugging my shoulders and I'm just kind of going, meh. Like it just is kind of a stupid story. It makes Halsey seem cruel in ways that aren't necessary. Like there's things that are supposed to be planted in this episode. We kind of talked about them in those flashbacks where it's supposed to make the relationship more complex, but it doesn't make it more complex and interesting in any way. It's just kind of stupid. Like
Hmm.
I wish they had done some things to make that relationship more complex, but it falls completely flat on its face. She doesn't even seem like a real person. You know what I mean? Like the way that they talk about her and the things that supposedly happened, it seems completely
She
fake.
seems made up. She seems like she's a
Right.
video game villain.
Yeah, and not even a well-written one.
Right. Cuz think about this. I was just thinking about this while you were talking. What they're making all of these things and making her seem just, terrible, worse than we thought. What's the end game? What's her comeuppance? John rebels against her? Like, who cares? What right now could they do that makes you go, yeah, I feel good for her getting what she deserves?
It, yeah, and at some point, he's going to have to fight Covenant pretty regularly,
Right.
and he's going to need Halsey helping him, assuming she's still in the show. So all of this stuff that they're trying to lay, I guess it could work out, but am I going to care enough by the time it does? Probably not.
Right. Probably not. And this whole episode, you just said it a minute ago, this whole episode is a shoulder shrug for me.
Yeah.
It's okay, when are we going to get to, and boy, when are we going to get to Halo? I mean, they at least they show a Covenant gun, I guess. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
But like, okay, when are we going to get to this? When is it going to be, oh, Halo is actually a threat? When is it going to be the Covenant is actually a threat? Because they sent them down just like we don't even see the Covenant this entire we don't see the High Count. Like, what are they doing? We don't see. How do you pronounce her name? McKeek.
Yeah, Maki or Maki, something like that.
Like, okay,
I actually
where
don't care either way.
where's she? What is she doing? What is the High
Yeah.
Council talking about? What is their like? What is their plan? Do they know John found the other marker? Like, what? You went a whole episode and did nothing, and you can tell by the music score in this thing, boy, they thought they were saying some shit in some of these scenes. They thought they were doing something.
especially whenever they put the Gregorian chant in when they say Halo for the first time, and you hear kind
Right.
of a theme that's reminiscent of the original show's, score, that iconic
Because
Gregorian chant.
God forbid we should get that. You know,
I mean, why would anybody want that?
they literally they literally in that first episode, this is all the Halo you're getting, so enjoy it.
It's funny because it's like you think about the game series Halo. It's one of the most popular series of games on the planet. I mean, sure, Mario is huge. I mean, absolutely huge. Call of Duty, absolutely huge. Final Fantasy, absolutely enormous. Like these are some major, major,
It's
IP that are out there for gaming,
right.
and it's almost like they kind of said, man, seems like people sure like this Halo stuff. Here's what we're going to do. We're not going to give them any of what they think they're going to get. And we know better that we're going to make a better show without any of the stuff that's included in any of these games.
Right. And again, I would say if you said, okay, name 10 video game franchises that have been influential in video gaming history, I feel like Halo more often than not would be mentioned in those 10.
Oh yeah,
Like,
regardless of, I mean, if you're a fan of a particular series or not, like for example, when you think back to when we did our top 100 video game series, there's definitely a lot of series that appeared on your list, on Brandon's list, on Harrison's list, that were nowhere on mine, but I can at least acknowledge the importance of them, to the history of gaming. Like I'm not particularly a fan of the Beatles, but I acknowledge them as one
right.
of the single most significant bands in the history of music, one of the most important players in the history of music, and Halo would likely be in just about anybody's top 10 if they're being honest. And we're getting nothing,
No.
virtually nothing. I mean, we're getting some really accurate costuming. Like we're getting some really good, like the guns that we've seen look good. Like the helmets for the different Spartans look good. Like the Warthog looks good. Some of the sound effects have been good. Like we talked about that. Um, and I think the design of like the prophets, that looks good.
Right.
And I ran out of stuff to say is good.
Yeah, because again, the costumes, good, great. Um, what else is good? Nothing else is good. And this is one of those shows where it's just hard to talk about because there's nothing of substance for us to really break down and discuss because it's not like we know what's going on. Okay, great. You found another marker. You've mentioned the Halo ring. We know what that is. So there's nothing to debate from this episode. You can't break anything down and say, "Okay, well now that he found the second marker, but like does that like no, there's nothing." And you take that into account with like like these two shows running, they're one episode behind, but you take that into account for like what Moon Knight is doing right now, and there's 100 things to talk about okay, well what could episode 4 possibly be like. There's all of these things that happened so far through the first 3 episodes, and with this it's like we know the story. So when the episode is this bad, it's not even the realm of when we were talking about X-Men Origins Wolverine or Batman and Robin or any of these other movies that these topics that we've discussed on this show that at least give us a laugh, that are at least fun to talk about. This is like, it's aggravating because there's no substance almost.
Yeah, there's almost no reason for a lot of this to be going on. There were a couple short action scenes in this, but they're very short. I mean, again, they spent over $90 million on this show. What did they spend it on? I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to get name brand talent. It's like, what exactly did they spend it on? The sets, the costumes? I don't
Right.
know. Like the action scenes we got were kind of short and ultimately sort of pointless. Venture's goons all have stormtrooper aim, and it's distractingly obvious and bad. Like, oh, they're just in a motorcycle right down the center of town, and there's
Mm-hmm.
not one guy who can hit them. Like, not one, not one. All the automatic gunfire in the world, they can't get in the general vicinity of a dude on a motorcycle that you can clearly see.
Right.
Uh, it's pretty bad, and like we talked about this last week, but Miranda Keys has like 75 jobs within the UNSC. So apparently decoding the language is just one, it's just another one. Like of
Yep.
all the jobs, like, is it any wonder that they're not making any progress? She's an idiot and they've given her 75 different things to do. She's not good at any of them. So they're trying to decrypt the language, and they didn't ever think to get language input from the soldiers actually in the field interacting with the enemy. It's so obvious and dumb that's only made worse by the show asking the same question the audience is asking and laughing about and mocking. Like they
Right.
acknowledge how dumb it is on the show, and it just makes it that much dumber. I will say though, when they're talking about what the Sangheili word might actually mean, the moment where the one Spartan says it might also be shit, please don't kill me. That's actually kind of a funny moment, and
Yeah.
that's sort of my end of stuff I can say good.
Yeah, no, I will admit I was like, all right, like not bad.
That was
like,
clever. That was clever.
like you got me. But yeah, I just like come on, man. Like seriously, what are what are we doing? What is so I mean again, what is Kwan's end game? To overthrow and her people are free. At this point though, it's it's not a good look that I don't care. I don't
Yeah,
like it's
they're
not a
free to do what? To get wiped out by the Covenant when they come back because the
yeah.
UNSC is not going to protect them? Like that's what they're free to do? Why
Yeah,
does that make sense?
it's just again, it's an odd choice that this is for, take away the fact that when I say like, oh, when they get away from the Halo stuff because they're doing that already, but when they skip away from Master Chief, this is what this is what the audience is supposed to get hooked on. This is supposed to maintain interest on the show.
And there's so many other things that don't make sense. Like when Soren is trying to, find a way to get his ship back, like it's been impounded by the local government because he's with a fugitive. How does he think he's getting it back?
Right.
Like he doesn't have heavy weaponry. Like he doesn't have major fire. Like it's just he just is like, yeah, I'm just gonna go get my ship back.
Yeah.
How? Like how and why? And then they introduce this whole other thing of these mystics in the desert, and all of a sudden Kwan's dad's walking around with a katana and fighting in this like dusty hallway. um I mean, it's early to tell because they've just sort of introduced it, and I guess they're going to try to pay that off in the future. But I'm going, what the shit is this? And
Mhm.
more importantly, why the shit is this?
Yeah. Yeah, everything is why. Like everything is what why? Why? That's it. Everything is why is this happening?
Yeah. If I am going to talk about something else that I found a little bit compelling and interesting, so most of the time Master Chief's walking around his childhood home is absolutely yawn inducing. They did something kind of interesting where they kind of set up a camera angle sort of behind his ear so that he can leave his helmet on, because dude never has his helmet on. I mean, for a
No.
soldier that uses that as part of his heads up display, like dude's never got his helmet on. But it's kind of a way for them to give the actor, in theory, and I'm using air quotes right now, the opportunity to show emotion by setting that camera up behind him so you can still see, while he's walking around and has his helmet on. That is, if they had an actor who was going to actually do anything like that. And then they kind of switch back to your traditional, Iron Man, Tony Stark inspired kind of, shot of the face when he's wearing a helmet. I did kind of think that was a little bit interesting, though, some of what they gave us with that, but that's kind of me grabbing at straws here, if I'm being honest, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I do think as much as I'm like it's so uninteresting, at least the heads up display was cool when they were, at least it's visually appealing. But again, it's visually appealing in a scene that I don't care. I do not care. And I have said that for three and a half for like three and a half of the four episodes. Even though I thought
Yeah.
episode three was better, I still said, "Eh, you know, I don't know. Giving me dirt to eat and then giving me bread for, like, if I'm eating dirt and then you give me 2 pieces of bread to put the dirt on, it doesn't necessarily make it better. Like,
Yeah. And here's the thing that I'm sort of wondering about is they spend all of this time doing they spend a lot of time talking, right? They spend a lot of time like setting up kind of uh, competing alliances and things like that. Is it because they have no faith in what they were going to be able to do visually with some of the action scenes? I mean, is it when we actually do get into some battle scenes? I mean, and we saw the first one opened with a really cool one. I mean, it was
right.
mostly very effective. There was a little bit here and there that you and I had some complaint about, but largely it was kind of fun. Do they not think they can sustain that? Do they think that most of what else they're going to be able to give us is really not good? So they're covering with all this other stuff because they don't think they can deliver on the action. It makes me wonder and it
Right.
makes me worry.
Yeah, because I really am sitting here going, so what is the Covenant waiting for? Why haven't they attacked again?
Because there's obviously something there that they know they need.
Right, exactly. So why aren't they attacking? Why was it one attack? Because let's look at what happened. You still don't have the artifact. So what were you doing? What were you doing this episode while everything was going on? You still don't have what you need. So are you like what is this? Is it your company picnic time? Like what are you doing?
Yeah, they each Corvette has had 180 days injury free, so they're doing a picnic to celebrate.
Right, exactly. It's siesta time. We can take a break. Like the Halo ring will still be there. It just yeah. And what is I don't know cuz all right, now but here's the thing. Now we're in episode 5 coming up. Where are we going? Cuz are you just good when is Halo going to be Halo? Cuz you're going to dump all of this in the what? Last 2-3 episodes? When is this going to happen? When is the ring going to become a problem? The
It
last
almost makes you wonder.
the last episode is a tease for season 2?
Well, they've already told us that we're getting a season 2, and at this point, I'm kind of wondering. I thought maybe we'd see the ring on this episode. I think maybe we could see it next week, but at the pace that things are going, no, I think we're just going to be on Madrigal a lot. I think
Right.
I think we're going to see a bunch of flashbacks of kids, and maybe like they'll be in some kind of ship that comes up to the Halo ring,
Mhm.
the first one, that first installation. I don't know. In my head, after the first week, after the second week, I thought of a lot of things like, okay, could we see 343 Guilty Spark by the end of this? Could we maybe see the Flood by the end of this? Could we, what would we actually get? I'm going to just say I don't anticipate any of that happening. I really think we will probably not actually have any scenes on the ring this season. I think they're going to try to save that to get people into season 2.
I unfortunately I just feel like you're right. I feel like the ring is going to be it's going to be the establishing shot to set you into season 2. And we will not actually get it this season.
Yeah, it feels like that's the direction it's headed.
And the problem is, like we've said, nothing about this show has made me like so far nothing has made me say like okay, I would watch if this show ended next week and it was the shot of the Halo ring, I would have no reason to say okay, I would still not say season 2 is must watch. I would say you have shown me no faith. Like I would need to hear resounding reviews to be like, oh, okay, you know what? Let me turn this on. Let me see what's going on here because you have not made me you haven't made me interested for season 1, so you sure as heck don't have my support for season 2.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with any of that. I think this is one of those things, unless something happens in the next 5 episodes. Yeah, we have 5 left. Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, I'm sorry, 4 left. um, if we don't have something that's really hooking, if they continue giving us stuff that just isn't really of any interest, and these side characters just, not only are they not from Halo, but they fall flat on their face and just have do nothing to the conflict they introduce makes no sense. It's not compelling, and it doesn't actually hold up to any scrutiny. It makes you wonder, like, who would come back for season 2? I think they can
Right.
get a little bit of, like, I'm going to give them the opportunity I'm going to watch this whole season no matter how bad it is, and just for the simple fact that I know how compelling it could be if they just stick to what works about the game. If they stick with those sorts of things, it could be really great. But if by the end of it we still haven't seen any of that, I would have to have somebody tell me, oh my God, I know that the first season, like, there are shows like Breaking Bad, I think, is a good example. Anybody who's really into that show will tell you, you got to give it a little bit to get into
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there's the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead, like, they actually really hooked me, but a lot of people have said those are kind of slow, and it's not until they kind of get moving into season 3, when the show gets a little bit of a budget again, that it kind of moves forward. And you can think of, like, I think The Office is another example of a show that people say, listen, if you want to get into it, you got to give it a little bit of time. It's not going to hook you right away. As opposed to a show like Black Sails, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, where from the first episode, I'm going, what is this? This is
Right.
awesome. Holy crap. This is incredible. So I would probably tune out for season 2 and wait to hear that it actually got better.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I would be with season 2 right now. But before we move on, is there anything else you want to talk about individually for, the meat of this episode? Because really, all I have is I'm not a fan of it. I don't know what else to point out from this episode.
The only thing that I'm trying to figure out is, we kind of talked a little bit about Halsey and what she's got going on. She knows more than she's letting on to John. She's aware he's gaining some memories back. She has to know, or has to suspect, there's a possibility that he's going to remember bad things about her from his childhood, or lies that she's told,
Mm-hmm.
or terrible things that she's done. And yet it doesn't seem like overtly she's preparing herself for that. It's very strange that she's not a little more cautious, that there's about to be a major problem on her hands, that this 7-foot super soldier could just completely flip on her, and would deservedly do so based on what she's done. So I know she thinks Cortana is in her back pocket as kind of a kill switch if she needs it, but
Right.
I will say there's something about that has hooked me just a little bit. I'm cautiously optimistic that could go somewhere, but it's interesting that she doesn't have more, I guess, caution with what could happen with him remembering more things and putting her in a compromising position, without maybe trying to explain yourself. You know what I mean? Like, hey, John, listen, you might be confused by some things that you're seeing. Not all of that is necessarily real. Some of that could just be part of the process. Like, she's not hedging her bets at all, which I think is weird.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
But
I
that's all
think.
I've got.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good. I think that's a good call out. But yeah, there's really nothing else that's just like hooking. So let's move past all that and let's just get into roll credits and let's give our final thoughts on this episode, where we're going to do our overall rating on this episode, what we think. And I'm going to bring up just a quick fact here because I'll go first on this. Number one, my real rating for this episode is a 1. I particularly don't really care about this episode. I found myself, again, as soon as you told me that we were not able to do this Saturday, I said, okay, don't need to watch it. Like, I'm not watching it opening night. Well, opening night, you know what I mean. Then The next day went by and I said, nope, I'm good. Nope, I'm good. And then I got to be honest, I was home. I've been watching Gotham. It's the first time I've ever actually watched through that show. And I was watching Gotham and I turned it off at 9 o'clock and said, geez, I said, if I don't turn it off, then I won't be able to watch the entire episode before, and then I won't actually be able to really talk about it. Well, lo and behold, I really didn't need to watch the whole episode because everything's the same. But I had no desire to turn this episode on. I had no desire to say, all right, let's see what's happening. And that's bad. That is really, really bad. At this point too, I'm really ready to say that Kwan is 100% my least favorite character in this
Oh
show.
yeah.
She is by far terrible. She is whiny. She is a brat. She has shown she has gotten more people hurt than what she is trying to accomplish. I cannot see that changing anytime soon.
So one of the things that I think is really compelling about what you just said, Matt, you said, okay, so this show comes out on Thursday. You and I both spend a good percentage of our lives kind of just dicking around on the internet. Think about how important it was to watch Mandalorian the week it, like the day it came out, to watch WandaVision the day it came out, Loki the day it came out, because you knew if you didn't stay off your phone, something would get spoiled. Think about how important it was to see Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, there were some things that we thought could happen, but you wanted to receive that like the way that you could. Like you didn't want anything to be spoiled because you wanted to be able to enjoy it and have the surprises hit you and have a real reaction to it.
Right.
Um, like if somebody spoiled this episode for you, like you wouldn't have cared. But by the way, nobody is spoiling anything for this. Like there's no buzz about this show at all that anything could be spoiled for you, and I
Right.
think that's really telling.
What would they spoil? They walk, they talk, and then they talk.
Yeah, that's about what happens. So as far as a real rating, I'm going to go a little higher, but not much. I'm going to give it 1 3/4. And here's the thing: is we've dumped on this, we've dumped on this, we've dumped on this. I actually am still curious if this can get turned around, if this can. And this is maybe just my inner fanboy who loves Halo. It's one of my personal favorite series of all time. For those people who listen to our top 100 video game episodes, you know that I've got a special place in my heart for the series and for those many of these games on an individual level. I've probably spent more time playing Halo 2 than just about any other game I've ever played between the campaign and the time spent in online multiplayer. So this is something that I really care about. I really want to be good. So I guess it's that optimism that it's going to turn around. I'm still looking forward to next week. I'm still hoping that some of these little things that has the potential to pay off, the potential to maybe be good, even though I've just been kicked in the teeth over and over
Right.
again. I still have blind optimism that I can't justify, I guess.
Yeah, it's a morbid curiosity at this point for me,
Yeah.
whether or not this is actually going to be able to be something of interest that would, turn me around to say, okay, you know what? As a whole, this season was interesting. I can say they did it. So that'll be the test to see, does this get any better? Because God forbid it gets worse. Like,
Oh boy.
yeah,
Yeah. I
exactly. So, well, everybody, that's gonna do it for another episode of Halo. Unfortunately, it is not, you know, what we have been expecting so far. However, A couple of really exciting things that we'll close out with before we end this episode to let you know what's going on, and one of them is on April 27th. I will be doing a live watch party of episode 5 of Moon Knight. So if you follow Matt Goes to the Movies on Facebook, Instagram, anything on social media, you will see the link as to what that's going to be. So you can watch along live with me as I watch episode 5 of Moon Knight and join in the chat and see what you think. Really looking forward to doing that. Rob, anything that you want to tell the listeners? I know we did, a video review of Resident Evil. Anything in the pipeline for Rob reviews?
Yeah, so Eric and I have a couple things that we're talking about. We've got it narrowed down to the next time that we're going to get together for the extended podcast universe, but I definitely want to get the finishing touches done on our video review for the first of the Resident Evil series, and then we'll kind of work on shooting the second one because, man, those are bad. But they're kind of bad
Yep.
in an awesomely bad way. This is kind of just bad. It just actually bad. So I'm looking forward to that. And now that I've actually gotten a chance to move back into my home studio, it'll give me the opportunity in a little bit to be able to kind of do some other stuff too. So yeah, Eric and I are definitely talking about something very soon. Hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be able to sit down and record it. I'm looking forward to some of the stuff we're talking about. We like to go back, and if you've not had a chance to check out any of the extended podcast universe episodes, we like to go back a little bit further and touch on some of the films that have really made a big impact on us over a long period of time, and movies that have really stuck with us, characters, lines, scenes that have really, had a long lasting kind of effect on us. So yeah, we're really looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, no, I always look forward to those. You've done a lot of movies that I really enjoy, including one of my favorite movies in the Boondock Saints. So I always look forward to those. And listeners, if you look forward to these episodes or any of the other episodes that we're doing, again, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere you can get podcasts. You can just type in Matt Goes to the Movies, hit subscribe, and join us. Join the chats. Let us know what you think of episodes that we've done. You can email the show. It's a very simple email. It's basically the initials of the show. So it's mgttmpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Podchaser.com. Review the show. 5 stars reviews are always appreciated, but we want honest reviews. So until next time, we will see you very soon at Matt Goes to the Movies.